Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing is there's a link that's in the chat. And the link in the chat is to our Q4 quick notes. We're going to go through this. We'll go through it in a little more detail on part two. But for part one, there is towards the end a checklist and notes section. If there's anything that kind of catches your eye or anything that you heard that you're like, oh, I need to do that because that applies to me, or I need to make sure I remember to do that, you should, when you download this to your own computer and you open it up, these fields should be editable and you can take notes inside of this document, which makes it really easy for you to reference for 2025 when you get ready to do Q4 for 2025. So we wanted to make sure you had a document that you could use not only for this year, but for next year. So the last couple of pages, again, the checklist and notes section have some helpful tips for you, and you can use that for next year and for this year. So go ahead and download that. If you don't see it in the chat, let me know. Let me move this over. And did everybody see that in the chat? Are you able to see the chat? The link is here. I will pin it again. So is everyone able to see the chat? You can access it down here. Just want to make sure you can get to it. If you're not, let me know. I am going to unmute everybody when we get towards the end so that you can ask questions. I'm probably not going to remember how I unmute people, but I will figure it out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so this is the Q4 workshop. This is part one. And I've asked everybody to mute, but I actually went in and muted you guys before we got started. We're going to do open Q&A at the end. So just a little bit about me. Some of you may know me and some of you may not know me. I've actually been very, very, very quiet on social media for the last 3 months, but I have been on social media for a very, very long time. So my name is Nicole Whitlock, and I am the creator, the founder of eCom Sellers, all things eCom Sellers related. That includes eCom Sellers Academy, eCom Sellers Mastery, eCom Q4 Summit, eCom Sellers Summit, eCom Sellers Mastery. I'm trying to remember all the stuff in eCom Sellers Mastermind. I am also the owner of Achieve Digital Marketing, which is another company that I own, actually created before I had eCom Sellers. I'm a single mom. I have 2 special needs teens. And so at any time during this session, hopefully not today, but I have an autistic son who may actually come in and start talking to me. And I apologize for that in advance. I'm also the vice president of a nonprofit for special needs kiddos. And I've been selling online for a long time, since 2014. I sell still to this day on eBay, Amazon, Bonanza, Mercari. I'm trying to think of all the platforms that I sell on, Etsy, I'm trying to remember, but I sell on a lot of different platforms. And my passion is helping others get focused and get organized in their business so that they know what they need to do. Typically, I host this Q4 sort of planning session before now. But my life has been very interesting for the last 4 months. I've lost a really dear friend of mine to cancer, and I have 2 other friends that are fighting cancer. And so it has just taken a lot, in addition to one of my kiddos graduating from school. So my life has not been the same. And so I've taken the last 4 months to myself to care for them and to do things for them. So that's why I've been offline. If you are part of any of my other groups and you're like, what? She's hosting a class and she's online. Yeah, that's it's just life has happened. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who's had some interesting stuff happen in their life. So I'm trying to get back on track, but I have been prepping my own business for Q4. I always teach that you get ready for Q4 early and not late. So we're going to talk about that today. So we're going to talk a little bit about Q4. I'm all about the let's go. I love sports analogies. They are my favorite. And we're going to talk about what Q4 is and then why it matters. So what is Q4? It is, in essence, the most profitable time of the year. It's October, November, December. I always encourage people to start getting ready for Q4 in September. So I kind of move the Q4 window a little bit, and I say it's September, October, November, because of the fact that everything you do for November is going to hold steady for the most part, not always, into December. So it kind of gets expanded to 4 months instead of 3 months, but it's typically a 3-month window. And that is also the most profitable time of the year because people are buying sometimes like crazy. Will they be buying like crazy this year? I don't know. They may be buying. Here's the deal. I remember right after the pandemic, right during the pandemic, sorry, people were like, nobody's going to be spending any money because everybody's going to be holding on to their money and they're not going to spend any money whatsoever because of the fact that they need to hold their money because people were losing their jobs when COVID first happened in 2020. Let me just tell you, it was insane for online sellers in 2020 and 2021. So for everyone who thought that people were not going to be spending money, they were. Now, were they spending money because a lot of people didn't want to go out? Yes. And so online selling was insane for me in 2020 and 2021. You may or may not have been one of those people that experienced that, but I know that everyone everywhere was buying online, period. So again, Q4 is sort of like indirectly that sort of window. If you were one of those people that were buying everything and having it shipped to your house, that's what happens around Q4. There's a lot of buying, online buying. So there's 5 reasons why Q4 matters for most sellers. Now, there are people who sell products and Q4 doesn't matter to them. It's irrelevant, whatever their product is, that I refer to it as a steady Eddie. A steady Eddie is a product that just sells all the time. Doesn't matter if it's spring, summer, winter, or fall. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas or not. It sells all the time. If you've got a steady Eddie or you've got a couple of products that are steady Eddies, I love those. And those are the ones that just generate money all the time, or they sell all the time. They move all the time. But for other sellers, like this is an opportunity for you. If you're already selling a product that's doing really well and you just want to get a little boost in revenue, a little boost in sales, you could go ahead and start selling into Q4, which is again, October, November, December. So 5 reasons why it's important is because 1, there's increased consumer spending, which is absolutely correct. 2, holiday sales events. I love that because you're going to get what I refer to as free traffic for the most part. If you do a really good job or a decent job with your keyword, you just have to do a decent job during Q4, but with your keywords and with your titles and your images for your products, if you do a decent job, you're going to sell something. Okay. So holiday sales events, because there's organic traffic that flows your way, because Target is having a sale or Walmart is having a sale or somebody's got something in a flyer or Amazon's got a sale, like you're just going to get some organic traffic. And I love that, especially on all of the selling platforms. And if you have your own store, like you're selling on Shopify, so you got your own URL, domain, again, there's some things you can do to help yourself there. Last chance to meet any of your goals. If you had some targeted goals, if you attend any of my planning sessions, I always do an annual e-commerce planning session. I encourage you to attend this year because we have a whole bunch of cool tools this year for our 2025 planning. But in any case, it's a great opportunity for you to meet any goals that you establish for yourself. Like Q4 could be your catch-up window. So if you're one of those people like, oh, I just want to be able to make, I don't know, $50,000 every single quarter or $70,000 every single quarter, and I was short first quarter, I was short second quarter, I was short third quarter. Sometimes fourth quarter can just shore up everything. So an opportunity to meet those last minute goals. Potential year-end promotions, again, because there's a lot of deals and you might be launching some deals, you might offer some 2-for-1 specials. This is also an opportunity for you to grab extra customers that maybe weren't your customers before. So just all of the online traffic, all of the free advertising that's happening because other people are having sales, all the platforms get a boost. So we call that the rising tide. It raises for all ships. It doesn't matter. Everybody's going up because of the fact that this free advertising is going to be happening. And then it's also an opportunity for you to clear out some inventory. Now, there's a couple of things about clearing out inventory. I don't know what method of e-commerce you're doing, whether you're selling on Amazon or eBay or Walmart or Shopify or Etsy. I don't know if you're doing print on demand. I have no idea if you're doing wholesale, drop shipping, private label or white label, arbitrage. I don't know what you're doing. But some of the tips that I'm going to give you are going to be universal, regardless of what your method or platform is. And some of them may not be applicable to you. So we're going to get into that a little bit more in session 2 than we will in session 1. But generically, like this is the window. So If you feel like some of the things that I'm going to be suggesting, maybe, I'm a little bit behind the curve, there's still a chance to make money in Q4. Just want you to know that there's still a chance to do that. And that's what I love about Q4. Like, you can jump in right now and still be able to make money. And if you're already a seller, then some of the stuff you probably already know. So step one is to this process is to build your 12-week checklist or your 12-week game plan. What do I need to do for the next 12 weeks? And that is, of course, October to December. But again, I like to start in September. We're already at the end, pretty much the end of September. So we're a little late to the game right now. So the first thing I did want to mention is, because we haven't done our eCom Sellers podcast since, I don't know, April, I think the last podcast we did. So we've got a lot of catching up to do. But in any case, that Prime Day, there's a second Prime Day. It was introduced last year, and it was introduced in 2022. They kind of threw us off. Well, okay, technically, what they did was they moved Prime Day in 2020 to October, which threw everybody off. Then they moved it back in 2021, back to July. And for whatever reason, in 2022, they decided to have a July and October Prime Day. This is Amazon. Even if you're not an Amazon seller, again, everybody gets a boost whenever there is a massive promotion on deals. Whenever there's President's Day deals, whenever there's Labor Day deals, whenever there is year-end like closeout deals, like all platforms get a little bit of boost in traffic. So just letting you know. So Prime Day is right around the corner. Because today is the 18th, we're a little close, but if you're selling online and you're planning on handling the inventory yourself, getting it out to the customer, there's still time for you to make a little bit of extra money on Prime Day. Of course, that Prime Day selling is, again, a boost to Amazon sellers, but also a boost to all other platforms, because all platforms are going to do a little something. Like, of course, Walmart's going to do a little something to gain some traffic. Of course, eBay and Etsy, like all the platforms, are going to do a little bit of something to help their platform get a little bit more recognition, notice, all of that. So just know that the sales that are sort of crazy around November could start a little bit early for you and continue on all through October, all through November, and all through December, depending on what you sell and the approach you take. So the first 2 weeks, like week 1 and week 2, you want to know what you did last year. Again, I would just want to encourage you to join our annual planning session. It is really good, and it helps you to kind of know what your numbers are, what you did. Then you want to set some fourth quarter goals. We're going to talk about some fourth quarter goals. You want to analyze whatever products that you're selling, and you want to know what your inventory levels are for those products. So I think that's in the next set. But anyway, if you have your own website, you do want to begin the process of optimizing your website. Maybe if you have a Shopify store, you have all of these things that have extra elements that you can put on your site. Like, you can do a flashing sale. You can have a pop-up for something. You can update the free shipping if you weren't offering free shipping. So there's different things that you can begin to do, and you want to start planning for those changes and updates to your website. Okay. And then invest in paid advertising. For some people, paid advertising is what they need to do. For other people, again, depending on what you're selling and what your method of selling is, you may not do any paid advertising. So if a person is doing retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, they may not do any paid advertising, because most arbitrage sellers are selling things that people are going to buy anyway or buy organically. So unless they are doing something that's really special with their product, like maybe doing a unique bundle for the holidays, they may not do any paid ads to get more eyeballs on their product. So I know a lot of arbitrage sellers who don't do a lot of paid ads. I do know some arbitrage sellers that do, but that's because they do bundles. So I do bundles. And I tell people, like, look, you want to get some more eyeballs on it, you want to get rid of that inventory you had, you can do that. Wholesale sellers, people who buy their products wholesale, they may also do some paid ads. So again, this is your window of opportunity to start thinking about that kind of stuff. And normally you would have already started thinking about this probably 4 to 6 weeks ago. But since we are where we are, we're going to say that's something you need to be thinking about. So if it needs to be added to your list of things to think about, depending on what you sell, the method of e-commerce that you do, and the platform that you sell on, add it to that little checklist notes area so you can come back to it later on. The next one is the next 3 to 4 weeks is to audit your inventory. I said that a little early. So this is that time you actually want to start auditing your, if you want to audit it this weekend, this is a great time to audit it, but you need to know what you have and also what you plan to sell. Auditing your inventory is extremely important, because if you don't have, if you don't have enough inventory, for some people, you might be a little late to the game. For other people, there may be other ways to shore up your inventory. There's nothing like having a hot seller and then running out. So, okay, I had 200 of this, I should be good. And then you sell out in the first 2 weeks and you got nothing for the rest of the year to get you to December 31st or even into January the 15th of the next year. So again, know what your inventory levels are. Knowing what your previous sales numbers were will help you to determine whether or not you really do have enough inventory or not. So hopefully you made some, what I refer to, notes around lessons learned from last year to know whether or not you have enough inventory for this year. If you're a brand new seller, you have no clue about inventory levels. So the one thing I do want to encourage you to do is, once you figure out what your method of e-commerce is and the platform that you want to sell on, I always tell people, especially like if you're going to do arbitrage or if you're going to do wholesale, like always have a backup supplier for anything that you notice is moving a little quickly. If you do a test listing and you test it on, like maybe you're planning on selling on Amazon, but you want to test it on eBay to see if it moves. And if it moves on eBay, then it's going to move 4 to 6 or 8 times faster on Amazon. Okay, that's just a fact. So what you might want to do is, okay, I tested it on eBay. Oh my God, this thing sold. I need a backup supplier for this. So this is that time of year where you may have a secondary supplier, a third backup, or even potentially a fourth backup supplier for anything that you plan on selling like crazy if you're a brand new seller. And that still goes to, sellers that have been doing it for a while. The next is to update your shipping and fulfillment policies. I think as part of that, you also need to figure out how you want to ship stuff. So if you want to handle and touch the inventory yourself, fine. If you don't, but you're willing to pay fees for somebody else to ship it for you, that's fantastic. If that requires you to ship a bunch of inventory to a fulfillment center or ship a bunch of inventory somewhere else so that they can ship it to your customer for you, or if you're going to do drop shipping, again, make sure you understand what if you're drop shipping, find out what your supplier quantities are, find out what any important information about what they're saying they're guaranteeing as far as getting the inventory out to people who buy it. If you don't know that information, it's going to be a problem. So you also want to include with that, update your shipping policy and fulfillment policies. You just need to also increase your awareness about if you're outsourcing to a fulfillment center, or you're going to send it into Amazon warehouse, you're going to send it into Walmart fulfillment services, if you're going to send it to somebody else to ship it for you, then you just need to understand what their dates are, what their timelines are, what their requirements are, and if there's anything that they want you to know, like, oh, this is a blackout window or whatever it is, okay? And what their guarantees are. Sometimes they make adjustments to their guarantees, sometimes they don't, okay? Review your customer service policies. Again, all the platforms are going to have things that you need to be aware of anyway, depending on which platform you're selling on, and also if you have your own store. So just be prepared to meet those requirements. If you're going to ship yourself and you're saying, I'm going to do 2-day handling, you need to have a game plan for doing 2-day handling. If you're not doing 2-day handling, or if you're, like, okay, I don't have a game plan, you don't want to be in the middle of Q4 and have them kick you off the platform. That's not what you want. I can just guarantee you that right now. So make sure you have a game plan for how you're going to handle inventory yourself if you're doing it yourself. Also, be able to respond to questions. More and more people are asking questions about the products that they buy. More and more people are sharing feedback or, giving reviews and things like that. So you need to make sure that you know how you're going to handle anything that may happen during Q4. Because again, with the increase of sales also comes the increase of other stuff. Increase in customer questions. Maybe you got 2 questions the whole year, but in Q4 you got like 10. Like, wait a minute, what's that about? So again, Everything goes up exponentially because traffic to all sites goes up exponentially. Sales goes up exponentially on all sites. So again, you need to be prepared for what's your plan to handle customer service inquiries, issues, concerns, and things like that. And then figure out what your marketing plan is going to be for the holidays. If you don't have a marketing plan, okay, but if you're selling a private label or white label product and you want to make sure that that product, is in front of the right audience, if you've been working on it all year, then for Q4, you already know who your target audience is. But if you haven't been working on it, you need to fine tune that and figure it out real quick. Where's your sales coming in from? What do you know about this perfect customer avatar or maybe semi-perfect customer avatar? What changes do I need to make to maybe the listing or anything like that to make it more appealing, or maybe update the images, whatever it happens to be? This is your window to start doing that stuff so you can drive more traffic. Then weeks 5 through 8, again, you want to launch your marketing campaigns, whatever that looks like, whether it's social media campaigns, whether it's Google ads or Bing ads, or whether it's ads on other platforms. You want to begin the process of launching that. And also launching any website updates, as I mentioned before, your customer service game plan. And then you want to track your performance. What's happening with your sales? Again, you don't want to get to the point where you're like, oh, okay, I have 195. I've sold 195 in 2 weeks. Now I'm stuck because I've got, 5 left and I got to get through 8 more weeks. What am I going to do? So track your performance. You should be tracking your performance regularly. I remember when we first started on Amazon, we used to always do the refresh just to see what was happening with our sales, refresh to see what's happening with our quantity levels. Just keep refreshing to see what's happening. So it becomes addictive. It really does. Also, the other platforms too. Like you want to see what's happening with the other platforms. Oh, I got a sale. Turning on your cha-ching on Mercari, or turn on your cha-ching on eBay, or the app just automatically cha-chings anyway. But anyway, I'm just saying. Sorry, I have whatever's going on with my coughing. I'm like, let me deal with this now. All right, so I got a cough drop. Then weeks 9 through 12. This week window is typically, most of the time it's post Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but it could be part of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. You're going to continue promoting your products and doing promotions, or either, tweaking your listings. So one of the strategies I've always taught for Q4, and you can write this down in your notes, is that we normally run our listings through a ping tool. So run it through Pingler or Ping Farm or some other pinging tool that will generate backlinks for you so you can increase your traffic, especially when you create new listings. So when you do that, that helps to build backlinks so that your listing will get a little bit more link juice, get more eyeballs on the listing. That doesn't hurt you. That always helps you. So we typically do that for all of the listings, regardless of platform, so that way all of our listings get a little bit of extra juice. We might also tweak the titles, tweak the descriptions. And we do that in October and the beginning of November. Tweak those listings so that they're ready to rock and roll. Again, not on this sheet, but just an extra thing that I do. And I'm sure when I talk about in session 2, I'm going to bring those same things up again. Those are all little simple things that cost you nothing other than time and effort to make work. Okay. If you have your own site or you're doing something on your own, offering last minute deals, you can also put some of your stuff on sale and on clearance on the platforms that you sell on. That's one thing that I always encourage people to do, is to learn what features are available to you on the platforms that you're already selling on. You need to know how to do sales and deals on Etsy or on eBay or on Amazon or Walmart, so that way you can take advantage of what the platform gives you. You also need to increase your awareness, if we're talking about the platforms, that also what reports are available to you. There's a lot of reports that are available to you, like on eBay and some of the other platforms, where people just don't even access them at all. They don't look at them at all, and they don't know that they're available to them. A lot of these features, especially with AI these days, They're designed to help you become a better seller. They'll immediately tell you what's wrong with your listing, or that you don't have enough keywords, or maybe you did too much keyword stuffing. Maybe you're missing out on populating some specific fields. So I just want to encourage you, learn the platforms. I would put that in my checklist or notes. If that's something you haven't done, you might just take this weekend, spend about 3 extra hours or 4 extra hours going through videos on the platform that you sell on, just to understand what reports are available to you. They could be valuable tools that can help you increase your sales exponentially if you don't already know. Okay. All right. So the next is to plan for your own success. So you're going to need to establish some goals. You're going to need to build some schedules and define some metrics. What are we measuring? The one that I'm passionate about all of these, seriously, but the one I'm most passionate about is building schedules, because that is my passion. Building a really good schedule and then sticking with it, being consistent, can change everything for you. So let's talk about your plan for success. Now, establishing goals is sometimes hard. If you don't know what you want to make, I just kind of threw some stuff out here. If your goal is to, over the next 90 days, is to make a total of $2,000 extra, maybe selling online is just a part-time gig for you, and you just need some extra money to pay for vacation at the end of the year, or vacation at the beginning of the year, or school for your child who's in college or whatever. So you don't need a lot of money. Maybe you just need an extra $2,000 and that's it for this 90-day window. Then knowing what your numbers are for each day in order for you to reach that $2,000 is one of the things that might help you. So in this example, if you just need to make an extra $2,000 in 90 days total, you just need to make $24 a day in profit. That's it. $24 a day. If you need to make an extra, if you need to make $4,000 in 90 days, or $6,000 or $8,000 or even $10,000 in 90 days, then again, knowing what your daily profit numbers are is going to help you be able to reach those goals. So, to get to $4,000 in 90 days, you got to make $48 in profit a day. How do you get to $48 a day in profit? Again, we're going to reverse engineer some numbers so we can see how we get there. Now, if you're looking to make $2,000 each month, in like 2,000 in October, 2,000 in November, 2,000 in December, then again, you need to know what your daily profit numbers need to be. So your daily profit numbers need to be $72 a day in order for you to get to $2,000 each month in profit. Okay. Same thing with $4,000 a month in profit. I got to make $143 a day. So you need to know what your daily numbers are in order to get to your goal. And this would probably be considered a metric, like trying to figure out what's my daily sales profit, my profit metric, not my sales, because my sales can be one thing. My profit is the thing that you get to keep. Profit is always after the cost of the product, platform fees, if you're shipping it yourself, shipping fees, and anything else, marketing fees. What is the amount that I get to put in my pocketbook? That's the thing that you care about. I know some of y'all are like, I don't even know what a pocketbook is. What is that? Sound like a grandma term. Okay. So how do I get to $10,000 per month? Well, knowing your numbers is going to help you get there. As I explained before, $10,000 a month is going to require you to have $120 a day in profit. What does that mean in sales? That could mean in sales, like you may need to make, depending on what the profit margin is for your product, it could mean you need to make $500 a day in sales, or it may mean that you need to make $1,000 a day in sales. So it's going to depend on what product you're selling, what you're selling it for, in order for you to figure out how much do I need to sell of that to make a profit. Typically, to get to a number that you're not already at, so a number you're not already at, is going to require you to do one of three things. It's going to either require you to make adjustments or increase the amount of time that you're investing in your business, the amount of money that you're investing in your business, that can be product, or the number of resources. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. During Q4, I typically hire high school kiddos to come and help me in my business. to either do shipments or to create listings or to run my listings through Pingler or Ping Farm, whatever that happens to be. Maybe tweak some of the images or tweak some of the titles. And I hire them for a finite window. So the great thing about hiring high school students is that they typically are inexpensive. You can make money by getting them a couple of large pizzas and several 6-packs of Coca-Cola or Pepsi and giving them a little bit of extra money. All of that, of course, is tax deductible. But the point is that you can get them to do a bunch of work. How I train them is I train them in the summertime so that while they're on summer break, I work with them for about 4 to 6 weeks. So they're fully trained. So when they come back to me in October, they come back to me in September, whatever it is, they already know how to create listings. They already know what I'm looking for on titles. They already know how to run things through Pingler and Ping Farm, edit images. They already know how to do product research for me. They know how to do everything I need them to do because I'm hiring them to be an extra extension of me. So can you do something like that right now for Q4? And that's an increase in resources, because I said it's going to be an increase or adjustment in time, money, or resources. One of the three. Okay. So it's an increase in resources in order to double me. Doubling me means I'm probably going to be able to double the number of listings, which also means I'm going to be able to double the amount of product research or the number of shipments, all of that. I'm doubling me. I'm creating 2 Nicoles. So that investment is going to pay off in the long run. Because if I was already making, hypothetically, I don't know, $2,000 a week, if I'm doubling me and I'm increasing the effort and they're helping with product research and finding vetting products for me that are going to be profitable, then that means that there's a high probability I will go from making $2,000 a week to $4,000 a week or something like that. Just, I'm doing simple math. It doesn't always work out that way, but I'm just trying to give you an example. Same thing with money. So maybe you were buying a product and you only spent, hypothetically, I don't know, $800 a week or $600 a week in inventory. Okay. So for Q4, you may have to increase the amount of money that you spend in inventory in order to get to your goal. Again, knowing what your goal is, it may require you to do that. Or you may have to invest more time. For me, I don't have any more time I can give to this. So again, I have to invest time. I have to invest in resources. Resources is going to cost me more money. So of course, I'm going to be impacted by increasing my time and increasing the amount of money I spend because I'm increasing my resources and increasing the amount of money I'm spending because I'm hiring resources to help me. So you need to figure out which one of those 3 is the thing that you probably need to make adjustments to increase and get to your target number, whatever your target number is. Okay. The other thing is consistency. And you do have to have a game plan on how to execute this, but consistency is extremely important because you can get started on something, but because you're inconsistent, you're going to get inconsistent results. You're going to be frustrated. You're not going to get what you're expecting you should be getting because you've been inconsistent. So again, looking at what your schedule looks like and how much time commitment you can invest in your business during Q4 is going to matter. And we'll get to the schedule in a minute. So again, I said earlier, what you sell the product for and what you pay for it, so your profit margin on it, is going to make a difference. Sometimes we'll buy products. I don't know. I'm going to use the Dollar Tree as an example because 99-cent stores close. There's some big lots are closing in different places. I'm like, what is going on? I do, as you can tell, I've done a lot of retail arbitrage. I've also done liquidation. I've done a bunch of stuff. So now it's $1.25. It's not $1 anymore. But maybe I can take a dollar item, a $1.25 item, and maybe I'm selling it for $12. Okay. So, or $15, whatever the number happens to be. So that's a nice margin. Okay. Cost of the item was whatever it was. And then there's going to be fees or shipping or shrinkage. Not that these are realistic numbers, just trying to help you do the math if you haven't done the math lately. So you can figure out, how do I get to my goal? Again, the goal, you have to reverse engineer. What am I buying the item for? How much did once I buy it, what other expenses are associated with this particular item? That includes maybe storage fees. If you're storing it with somebody that's going to ship it for you. And how much am I selling this item for? And then just trying to increase how many you sell of that particular item. For those who do arbitrage or those who sell for the holidays, again, we're looking for products that we know that are going to get some momentum during Q4. If you've got a steady Eddie, you probably don't care about that, but you could go and sell a couple of holiday things just to try and increase your margins, or increase, not the margins, but increase your number of sales during Q4. So doing that calculation is going to help you be able to figure that out. I have a potential profit calculator that I created a long time ago. And what you can do is you can go to this link, and then once you click on it, you can make a copy and use that to help you with calculating whatever your target number is that you're trying to get to for Q4. And maybe you hadn't thought about a target number. Maybe you just wanted to get some sales. Maybe you're starting with 0. So your goal might be that I would like to get to $1,000 in profit. Okay, fine. It's simple to be able to figure out how to get there. So this is what the spreadsheet looks like. You can populate it, and then it auto calculates some stuff for you. So you can figure out how to get to that number. In most cases, like if you're doing arbitrage, it's going to be probably a variety of different products that are holiday and or seasonal and or, the season related. But for those of you who have steady eddies, you may not have a bunch of products that you're selling. Maybe you're only selling 3 or 4 products, and it's okay to be a seller of only 3 or 4 products if those products are products that are moving all the time, which is fantastic. Okay. Or maybe you don't have a big goal, and so your goal is smaller. So once you populate that spreadsheet, it will calculate a bunch of stuff for you and help you to figure that out. But the thing you need to know is, what are you going to sell this item for? And how much did it cost you to get it? Knowing how much you spent or how much you're spending to acquire stuff is extremely important. This is also sometimes that time of year where people are just giving stuff away because they just want it out of their house. It's really the time of year during spring, but sometimes during this time of the year, because people are coming for the holidays, they're like, "Oh, I got to get this extra stuff out." You might be able to come across some great inventory. I just acquired, I don't know, probably $500 in inventory I paid $0 for just recently because somebody was trying to get rid of some stuff. And I just went over there to go look and was able to grab it. And I will probably flip that for at least $2 or $3 grand. And it's $500 in inventory that I didn't pay for. So that means it's 100% profit for me. Be on the lookout for those types of deals. There are store closures that are potentially happening, especially after Q4 is over. There's going to be unfortunately, probably a bunch of store closures. But they have been over the last couple of years. So it's not that it's new, it just happens. There's a cycle. And so that's part of the cycle. So be on the lookout for that. Okay. So know what you're paying for something. And then how many of that particular item do I have to sell every single month in order to get to my goal? Okay. The other thing that I talk about is, so know what your goal numbers are, write that down. If you haven't figured out what your goal numbers are, what are the products I'm going to be able to sell, how much am I getting those products from, who's my backup suppliers, those are things that go on your checklist, okay? They go on your checklist. The next is your schedule. Your schedule is so important during Q4. Figuring out what you're going to work, how many hours realistically, not in my mind, I think I can do this. No. I'm looking for hard, real time, blocks of time that you can actually invest in your business. Not something you think you can do, but something you know you can commit to. So if there's any other time of the year where I say you need to commit to your schedule, this is the time in which you commit to your schedule. Yes, it's going to impact your ability to do some of the things that you would like to do, like with family, because you've got Halloween if you're in the US. You got Halloween if you celebrate it, and you're probably going to, hand out candy, and maybe you take your kids out and they do the trick or treat and that kind of thing. Or Thanksgiving, maybe your family's coming in for Thanksgiving, whatever that happens to be. Or Christmas, you might be traveling. So let me just tell you, as a single mom, 2 special needs kids, over the years, I have done a lot of creative things in order to keep my business going during this block of time. Some of the things I do in my planning is I plan a week ahead. If I know that my family is coming in for Thanksgiving, then what I might do is I might work extra hours. If I say, hypothetically, I'm only going to work 5 hours a day in my business, and this is just hypothetical, So if I'm working 5 hours a day in my business consistently throughout Q4, 6 days a week, if that is my game plan, I'm divvying out what I'm doing in those 5 hours when it comes to my business. Okay. I'm also planning out what are my additional resources doing for me, things I don't have to do that they can do for me, that I can hand off, that I'm paying somebody else to do. Okay. So what are those things that those people can do? And if there's nobody that you can hand anything off to, okay, fine. Then that means you're doing all the work. So you need to be very intentional about where you spend your time and what you're doing with your time when it comes to your business. Again, if you're doing drop shipping, you're doing private label, the things that are going to matter to you are going to be doing the product research, finding good suppliers with good prices, and also making sure that you understand their ship times and their commitment times, along with being able to have making sure you know what the cash flow situation is going to be. If you're doing drop shipping, like somebody buys something, the money is held for a period of time. You have to spend your own money to ship it off to the customer, and then the money is released to you, whatever that system looks like. Okay. So knowing what that's going to look like as a drop shipper, or if you're doing print on demand, which is another form of drop shipping, depending on what type of print on demand. If you're doing shirts, t-shirts, socks, Christmas ornaments, that kind of stuff, that's sort of, drop shipping indirectly. So knowing what you're going to be doing with every single hour that you're committing in your business. Again, some of you have full-time jobs, and I get that. So your full-time job is only going to allow you to do so much. You need to know what your schedule is going to be. How much time am I spending if I'm doing listings? How much time am I spending doing listings? Or am I handing that off to somebody else? How much time am I spending doing sourcing or product research? Is somebody else doing the product research for you, and then you get to review it and make the final decisions? Again, training people in the summertime has been a benefit to me. That makes it a whole lot easier for me to be able to do that work. Before, it maybe took me 2 hours to do. Now it may take me 15 minutes. All I have to do is review the list, make sure it meets my certain margins criteria, and then place the orders, and I'm done. Okay. So being more intentional with your time. Building a schedule will help you get there. If you're outsourcing a lot of your business, in other words, you're not taking pictures, you're not doing any of this, then this may be a non-issue for you. If you have a hands-off 100% business, that's fantastic. But if you don't have a hands-off business, you got to be more intentional about your time. And you have to figure out realistically, how much time do you really have? So, as I said before, I've done a lot of creative stuff. For Thanksgiving one year, when my kids were younger, I went to my brother's, and what I did was I made sure a lot of family was around me to keep them entertained, and also make sure they could run down my son because he's a runner. And I went downstairs and I stayed on the laptop, and I created bundle images on Black Friday, or actually on Thanksgiving, on that Wednesday and on that Thursday, and I created listings on Amazon for bundles that I didn't actually have in my possession yet. And then we went out and sourced them the next day. It was crazy. But I created those listings that night, and I didn't have VAs back then. So I did this all by myself. I can remember that kind of stuff, having to do that kind of stuff. For Halloween, I would have somebody else take my kids out for Halloween for me because I'd done enough of them on my own. And I just stayed at home and just handed out the candy with my laptop. And I created listings, or I worked on things, or I sourced products, or I, whatever I had to do, printed off labels so I could get stuff shipped off, so that when my team came in the next day, they could box up everything and send it off to Amazon, or whatever the case may be. So again, being intentional about every single minute of every single hour of every single day. That is how I did it. So if you want to ever talk about that in more detail, you guys can schedule a free coaching session 101. We can get into the weeds about schedules, because the schedule is the only thing that's been my saving grace. I've been doing e-commerce to be able to cover my kids' speech therapy, occupational therapy, special diet, ABA therapy, and all of the out-of-network doctor visits. E-commerce has covered that. So I'm just telling you, it's possible. It's also covered all of our vacations. It's covered so many things. And it's only because I've gotten, I guess, militant about my schedule as much as I can be. Sometimes when your kids have a meltdown, you don't have any control over that. So build a real schedule. If you have a flimsy schedule right now, if you've been very inconsistent, you need to build a real schedule. This is your window to actually get on top of your schedule and be consistent and commit to it from now to the end of the year. Figure out how you're going to do Thanksgiving. Figure out how you're going to do Christmas. Figure out how you're going to do whatever other holidays that are in the middle of that matter to you. Figure out how you're going to do them. How many hours a day can you really commit to your business? And how many days a week? Okay. So outside of that, some other keys to your success. I've mentioned sourcing. Sourcing is extremely important, and sourcing can be easy. Again, you can outsource aspects of it. If you have a tool that you like to use to do your product research or do your sourcing, like finding products for you, that's fantastic. Use the tool. This may be that window where for 3 months you invest into a tool that actually helps you with product research and sourcing. And it cuts the amount of time that you've been using to do that in half. So for some people, that is one of the strategies they use. For some of the moms that I work with who have special needs kids, they only come in and start selling during Q4. So they use tools to help them find the products faster and to be able to work through the other aspects of the business, because they're single moms, or they may be families that are working with a child that has a lot of needs. So listings, again, if there's tools out there that will help you to create listings faster, better, more efficient, do that. There's a lot of AI tools that will do that. You need to read some of the AI tools. I'm telling you, some of them create a lot of trash and create poor titles. But in any case, again, getting better at your listing, this is your opportunity to do that. Getting better at your sourcing, opportunity to do that. And then shipping. Again, if you have the time to ship, fantastic. But if you really don't have the time to ship, this is the time to outsource it to a fulfillment center. There's so many 3PLs out there that will do the work for you. Okay. So this is your opportunity to be able to outsource, and think about that. Be prepared that if you can't get the shipment out in time, what is your game plan for dealing with, something happening with your account because you're late shipping or you're being penalized? Again, all the platforms will have some level of accountability. It's named different on each platform. So some of them have performance metrics, some of them have other things. You need to know what it is so you don't get yourself in trouble during this window. Okay. You have no control on how much money you're going to make, because you don't know who's going to buy your item and when it's going to sell. You don't know how many of your item is going to sell. But what you can do is be a lot more strategic about the products that you sell, how you sell them, what they look like when you create the listing, and the titles that are on them. Control the things that you can control. Create really good listings. Get better at sourcing products. Outsource shipping if that is one of your Achilles heels, so that way that becomes a non-issue. If you don't have the money to do all of those things, and maybe you got family members coming in for the holidays, or you got kids or something, then you might start needing to recruit some of your family members or friends to help you in the meantime, so that you can get your business off the ground if you're just starting. If you're a person that's looking to scale and it's just you, again, figure out strategies where you don't have to touch the products. Maybe you do more print on demand, so you don't have to physically touch the products yourself, and somebody else is always shipping them. You just have to create the designs, you have to create the titles, and get those up, get the listings up, get the images up, and all that stuff. So figure out a strategy that's going to work for you so that you can make some money this Q4, because there's money to be made. Okay, so establish listing goals. That's another thing. Establishing listing goals is extremely important. Figuring out how many listings can I get up per day, and what am I going to sell these items for? Getting your listings up can actually make a difference in the amount of sales that you get. Realistically, I need you to know that every platform loves it when you put new listings up every day. If you're a person that lists regularly every day, create a new listing on eBay or Etsy or whatever, the platforms actually like it, because your listing gets indexed immediately on those platforms. And so it tries to figure out where to show it and which audience it's trying to show it in front of. These algorithms have gotten more and more sophisticated. So they want to show your product, okay, to other people. So in order to figure out what your listing goal is, and I really need to go backwards, and let me just show you what I mean by listing goals. So let me go backwards. So a listing goal would be the best example is maybe I'm going to do something simple. 5 listings a day, 6 days a week. 5 listings a day, 6 days a week is 30 new listings. 30 new listings over a month is 120 new listings. So 120 new listings per month maybe is your goal. And then maybe that's what you've been doing for a while, but you want to take your business to the next level. You want to get a little bit more sales. So increasing that number from 5 new listings per day to 10 new listings a day could actually change everything for you. It really could. So 10 listings per day, 6 days a week is 60 listings. 60 listings 4 times a month or for a month is 240. 240 listings. Let's just say that 10% of those listings sold, okay, of the 240, or 20%, or 30%, or half. Like when you get to a certain level, a certain percentage of your listings are going to start flipping. If you're consistent and your listing titles are decent and your images are decent during Q4. Now, let me just say again, outside of Q4, you really need to do your best work. But if you did the bare minimum, you can accidentally get a sale during Q4. Okay. So I said, if if it's decent, okay, if it's good, you can get more sales. But in any case, you need to figure out how much you want to net per month. Again, going back to those calculations that we talked about before and the profit margins. And then what your average margin needs to be. We talked about that a little bit. How much am I selling this thing for? How much did I acquire it for? What does my margin need to be? What's my profit margin that I'm getting on this thing? Okay. So in this example, if 60% is your profit margin, that means that you profit $60 for every $100 in sales. Okay. $60 for every $100 in sales is nice. That's not bad at all. Okay. You need to know what your average gross sales per item are. So again, the example is from a time period, which again, we're talking about Q4. So that time period is October, November, December, or if you want to break it down each month, you can do that. So you could break down what are my sales in October, divide that by the gross number of sales by the number of items sold. So you can figure out what your average price or average sales price per item is. So if I sold 100 items and I sold the 100 items for $3,000, that's going to get me close to my $30 per sale, getting your average cost per sale or cost per item. Then your total number of active listings. We have a lot of listings. I have a lot of listings on eBay. I have a lot on Mercari. I have, and I will say this, like some of the platforms, they actually will allow you to sync up your listings from one platform to the other. So you don't have to pay software for that anymore. If you didn't know that, you want to look into that for the platforms that you're selling on. Where can you actually send your listings to other platforms to get more eyeballs on them? That's another thing I would put on the checklist. And I'm sure, again, it's the slides for session 2 have already been created. It always comes to my brain. In any case, so your total active number of listings, that does matter. How many listings do I have active? So you can figure out what's the percentage of those items that are selling. What's your churn rate, your flipping rate on the number of active items? If you're going from, you have 1,000 active listings and you create 30 new listings every single week, and none of those things are selling, that's not good. There's something wrong with the price of the items. There's something wrong with the listing itself. There's something wrong with maybe the description or the keywords that are used in it or the images. Something is wrong if you're continuing to go from, okay, I got 1,000, now I have 1,030, I have 1,060, 1,090. Like I'm not getting any sales. I haven't got any sales for 3 weeks straight. You need to go back and look at your listings. Do you need to take some of them down? Maybe you need to put them up on other platforms. Maybe you need to tweak the price. Maybe you need to change the images or change the titles. Something needs to happen to make those listings move. because you should be getting regular recurring sales if you have 1,000 listings up. Okay. So your sell-through rate is what we care about. We need to know what your sell-through rate is for the number of items that you have. So as I said before, increasing your listings. If you're a person that doesn't have to create listings, that's fantastic. If you're using a listing tool, that's fantastic. You can create listings faster with a listing tool. If you're just selling a product that you don't have to do anything extra with, that's great. I don't have to create any new listings. That's fine. But for those of you that are selling things where you have to create listings, figure out what your number of listings that you're doing right now, and increasing it a little bit could actually change everything about your business. So I just want to encourage you to take a look at that and see what it does for your business. I have no idea why there's 2 e-com sellers on there. That's really weird. So make sure that you start to establish some metrics around listings, some metrics around daily goals, performance, profit margins. You need to establish that. So if I want to get a net of $5,000 per month, then I need to gross $8,400 if my profit margin is 60%. Okay. So backing into those numbers, what does it need to be? Okay. And my average gross sales is 33 per item. So at $33 per item, at $8,400 in gross sales, that means I need to sell 255 items per month. If I take that 255 and I divide it by every single day in the month, that's going to tell me how many items I need to sell per day. How many do I need to sell per day? So if I increase my number of listings per month, it tells me again, if I'm already doing a sell rate of 16%, then my sell-through rate is 16%, then I know that, I'm going to be selling on average 9 per day. So again, you're creating new listings go up, other stuff sells. New listings go up, other stuff sells. If you're not creating new listings, if that is not your business model, that's fantastic. If you have a product that's just selling on its own, then do other things to help your product get more eyeballs, get more traffic, get more sales. Maybe you create some bundle opportunities. All of these things can help you to increase your sales and increase your profits, or either do some paid ads during Q4. Those are all things that can help you. Okay. So your homework is, 1, you do need to figure out what your real available time is to run your business. Okay. How many hours realistically can you actually work? Dedicated, committed pockets of time. Even if it's just you're looking for uninterrupted time. How many hours can you realistically commit each week during Q4? And think about everything that's happening in Q4. Sally says she was bringing the kids for Thanksgiving. What am I going to do then? How much am I actually going to be able to work? Or is Thursday going to be a wash for me? Will I actually be able to work? Will I be able to work Friday? Will I be able to work Saturday? You need to figure that out. So those are things that I have already kind of looked at, and I've reached out to my family in September and said, okay, I just need to know what we're doing for Thanksgiving and Christmas. They're like, okay, it's not here yet. I can't wait for y'all to figure it out. I need to know now because I'm a business owner. Okay. So I need you to think about what y'all doing so I can plan accordingly. I'm like, okay, we'll get back to you next week. So make those phone calls and reach out to those people if you think you're getting together. If you're planning on traveling, again, figuring out, like my son can drive now. So if I was traveling, I would literally be sitting in the passenger seat working on my laptop while he's driving, so that way I can continue to work while we're on the road. That's just me. Again, I'm crazy like that. The thing I will say, if you're doing arbitrage, sign up for as many store rewards right now, because we didn't even get into sourcing really, but that's okay. Store rewards only because get the apps, sign up for the cards, get the notifications, take advantage of the coupons, cashbacks, whatever. Take advantage of as many deals in many different ways as possible. There's so many different cashback cards out there. There's so many different store cards or store apps that are out there. So many different sales and things like that. So just take advantage of those right now, so that way you're ready to go for Q4. That way you can maximize your ROI, your profit, because you're getting the product at the lowest possible price. Create a budget. And I talked about what are the 3 things that have to increase is either time, money, or resources. If you don't have the money, you create a budget to figure out what you think you need. So then you can start backing into, how do I get this extra money? We'll talk about money in part 2. Establish your goals. Definitely put together what you want your goals to be. If you're averaging right now, I don't know, you're selling 100 products per month right now, and you're like, I really would like to increase to 120 or 150 during Q4, then establish that goal right now. That's a metrics, that's a target that you're shooting for. Write it down so we know what it is right now. Figure out, again, nail down your method of e-commerce. If you haven't decided, I'm going to just do print on demand because I can't touch inventory and I don't have time for this, that, and the other, then do print on demand and get started playing with tools like Canva and some of the other tools that are out there so that you can, again, work on your design tools, or either outsource and have somebody else create designs for you. So all you have to do is just put them up, put them on the platform, sync them up with some of the platform. Like if you're using Printful or Printify, you send your listings over to Amazon, send them over to eBay, send them over to Etsy, wherever you're going to send them, so that way they can get auto fulfilled. And Walmart has an integration with, oh God, I want to say it's Printify, but I have to go back and double check. But figure out your method of e-commerce. Are you going to do drop shipping? Are you going to do wholesale? Are you going to do arbitrage? Always have a secondary source if you're getting physical products versus if you're going to do, print on demand. And that includes if you're doing like KDP or you're selling books or whatever. What do you want to sell? Figuring out what your numbers are going to be, and then having a way to track what your numbers are. If you don't have the eCom planner, that's a great way to be able to track your numbers and establish those, get those things. And then establish your listing goal. How many listings, if you're a person that needs to list, how many listings are you going to be creating each day? 5 is good, 10 is better. See if that's a stretch goal that you think you can really commit to. And do you have the ability to do that? If you're a person right now, it takes you 10 minutes or it takes you, 30 minutes to an hour to create one listing, then maybe your goal over the weekend is to practice on getting better and faster at creating listings, because listings are mundane, monotonous, boring sometimes. And, it's just what it is. So figure out how you can either get faster or better at listings. Maybe you use a listing tool, or maybe you hire somebody. Figure out which one you can afford and do that. Okay. And that is all that I have for right now. So with that being said, I promise you guys, a cricket just jumped on my desk. I can't make this stuff up. Oh my God. So somebody opened the door and there's a cricket in the house and he made his way upstairs. That's crazy. All right. So let me unmute everybody. That is so crazy. And you can open up and ask your questions first. Just see if I can figure out how I did that. I know. Let me stop sharing for just a second. I got to figure out. Stop presenting. Okay, so if you want to unmute yourself, if there's questions you want to ask, if there's any questions that you want answered, you can type them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer your questions. So are there questions that I can answer? Or is there information I can share? Or was this information helpful? You can type in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Okay. All right. Well, if you want to unmute yourself, you can turn on your mic because you have the ability to do that. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to meet in session 2. I hope everyone got a chance to download the document. I will say, let me just pull that up again. Let me share my screen again. And let's go to this. Okay, so when we have part 2, which I won't get into part 2, we are going to cover some key dates that matter. And so if there's some dates that you feel like are important, I would go ahead and just add that to the checklist, to your own personal checklist. So you can just type it in your own personal notes once you downloaded it. And that way you can make a note of anything that's important. So we're going to talk about some key dates that are coming up, and we're going to also talk about some other things for Q4 that are going to help you to get the sales that you want to get. So with that, unless there are questions, I am going to say I was listening and listening and jumping back to you. My dad's always helpful. All right. I'm glad that you were listening. So I'm glad that you all came, and we will talk again next week, and we will say goodbye for now. Oh, yeah, eBay open too. At Dallas, yes. Okay, we'll say goodbye for now.